Meeting good. We are live. Everybody who's on a computer is muted. Sound is down. I'm gonna put the reminder to sign in. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to CEC 15's business meeting. It's October 8th. I'm CEC 15 President Antonia Martinelli, and I'll call this meeting to order at 6:41. I'm from 131 Livingston Street. If anybody is a guest, we encourage you to please sign in at the attendance sheet. If you are on the bars are shown, that means the student has a high chance of gaining admission, but if there are one or two bars, the child's odds are lower. And now students can rank more than 12 schools on their application. I wanted to share something from Brad Lander. He announced a new online transparency tool that shows how city agencies are delivering services to New Yorkers, and it's really cool. And you can look at any agency. I'll put the link in the chat. You can play with it. You can look at like busing issues and whether busing issues have gone up or gone down over a certain time period. So you put in different things into the different ranges, different time periods, and it gives you the data. So that's a lot of fun to play with. I'll put that link in the chat. The IBO is on fire. They released an update of education indicators that includes data on student demographics in public charter schools, student performance on state tests and regents exams, and school staffing levels. And they also released a report that provides detailed explanation of how New York City school construction projects are funded and examines the building aid formula, which determines the amount of aid the state allocates to the city. So I'm going to put those links for people in the chat. So we did get a response to our hate speech. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very lengthy. We're gonna send it out in an e-blast to everybody. You have it in your folders. It's on the table over there. I'll point out that among our many asks that we asked for more African American history materials, including the vast contributions of African Americans to this country since its inception. And over the summer, the DOE launched a Black Studies curriculum, which provides a more inclusive set of perspectives throughout American history to further include the contributions of people of African descent in the US and throughout the world. I feel like this news didn't get much attention this summer, so I wanted to highlight it here, and I'll put those links in the chat for everyone. And the DOE also announced an anti-hate hotline. I will put that number in the chat for folks. It is going to be available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and incidents can be reported anonymously at the caller's. As you know, the 16th annual PTA Fun Run is coming up on Saturday, October 26th at LaFrac Center in Trump Park. I will put in the links on that, how to sign up to participate in the chat. Hey, what's going on? And that's it. That's all my announcements. Let's. Now we can turn it over to our guest speaker. We've got, first we'll go to Carmine. That device, you know what, sit over here. I think it's better to just sit over here because then you're going to be speaking to the group and you'll be, thinking about it. Oh, you're gonna do it together? Okay. I think he should sit that way because his voice, I think.
I got a lot of voice.
Oh, yeah. Tell me that.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Carmine Francesi. I'm the Director of School Facilities for Brooklyn North. To be here. And, if you have any questions, we're gonna go over the presentation, right? And, if you have any questions for me, I'm here to answer. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, they hear you.
They hear me?
They're looking at you through that.
Oh,
They can hear you.
they can hear me?
They can hear you.
Hello?
Okay, so, you introduce yourself.
Yeah. All right, I'm Carmine Francesi. I'm the Director of School Facilities for Brooklyn North. I'm responsible for all the schools in Brooklyn North, districts 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 23, and 32. I'm happy to be here, and if you have any questions, please ask me. I'm gonna leave my business card here. See if the parents want to reach out. I'm available 24 hours, 7 days a week.
And I am Camille Casaretti. I'm the former president of CEC 15 and thrilled to be here with you all.
You did mess.
Because I think what happened
I
was,
gotta say it again.
no, I think what happened was,
She,
oh, right there. Okay. Um. I'm like, yeah, so, no good. Okay, so, thank you, everyone. Thank you to Antonia for inviting us to be here. So, Carmine and I have worked together for many years, many years. Doing school walkthroughs together and, just trying to ensure that schools are getting what they need in terms of facilities, because, believe it or not, school facilities are a big indicator of student success. And a lot of this comes from feeling proud about the building that you're in. You get like a sense of self-confidence when you see that you're in a building that's being well taken care of. Not to mention possible health risks from problems that may come from building facilities problems. So we were going to discuss how to do an effective CEC walkthrough, like a school visit. And so obviously there are, so we have a slideshow.
yeah. Reason that
Okay, great. So are you able to move it to the next slide?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So all of the 32 school districts, along with the citywide council on high schools and the D75 citywide council, submit priority lists annually to the school construction department. In order to ensure that those needs are being met, school stakeholders must all work together. And there's a number of ways that you can do this. So your council will coordinate meetings and building walkthroughs with the principals and parent leaders, including those on the school leadership team. you are going to work with the Division of School Facilities and the School Construction Authority to decide which projects fall under which division. And then you're going to talk to elected officials to try to get even more money to fund your school projects. So if you look at the slide, you'll see that there's a lot of back and forth. Like your school visits you're gonna have conversations with your elected official. The elected officials might call you to say, oh, we have a pool of money. Sometimes they don't always have it. That's and then sometimes you'll reach out to the principals first, sometimes they'll reach out to you first, or vice versa with the PTA and the SLTs. And then usually we are the ones reaching out to the Division of School Facilities and for the capital plan. Denise, next slide, please.
Do you have an extra copy? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm just.
Thank you. Cynthia, you have it? Okay.
So when your CEC representative is visiting a school, you're there to make the connection and build relationships. And when you attend an SLT meeting or a PTA meeting, you're trying to get a better understanding of the challenges that the school might be facing. And you want to be able to elevate those concerns and get support as quickly as possible. So in these next 2 months, you are going to be specifically looking at building facilities so that you can identify conditions that either need to be repaired or replaced. And you can also target any wants that the school might have, for example, yoga room or STEM lab. A lot of schools are going to ask for a green roof. Many of those buildings are not fit for green roofs. They're still gonna ask anyway, and you're gonna go through the motions because you never know. They may not be able to get a green roof, but they might be able to get a greenhouse that some of our schools have, and they're really cool. Not all of them have it, so if you can get a greenhouse, I try to get as much green as you can. You can get a wall of green plants, which ropes into your STEM and science curriculum. So just because one project might not work doesn't mean you should, not try to find some happy medium somewhere else. Shanice, next slide, please. So before you enter the building, you need to learn about this. All of these reports here in slide deck are up for the public record. They're available to you at any time. So if you're like me and you like to work at 11 o'clock at night, you can go and download some of these reports and check them out. But when I was doing this work, the first thing that I'd like to do was just go to the DOE school webpage and just make sure that the principal is the right person there. And, you may or may not know. But certainly the things that you do know, if you see that they're incorrect, you should call it to the attention of the principal right away. And I'm pretty sure most of you, if not all, know that on those DOE web pages are under the reports tab, you're going to find lots and lots of information about the school. Under facilities tab, there's going to be drop-down reports. And there's a lot of information about the current building conditions from the BCAS report, which was the Building Condition Assessment Survey. There's 3 separate reports for each BCAS. There's the architectural, electrical, and mechanical. So sometimes these architectural reports can be 80 pages long. You can kind of look at the first few pages if you don't have time to go through every single page, and that'll highlight the majority of the big issue projects. But everything that's in those BCAS reports has already been flagged. So the custodian knows about those projects, facilities knows about them, school construction authority knows about them. Things that are in there don't necessarily belong on the capital plan. And so a lot of times what'll happen is that CEC members will go through the whole list and the principal will say, oh, this has been on this list for so long and it's never getting done. And then they'll put that project on the SCA capital plan list. But that's kind of like wasting a space on that list because they already know about it. And so if you want to elevate those issues, you have to go in a different direction. You have to just go directly to school construction, directly to facilities or directly to the custodian and say, what's going on? It's been 5 years. Been taken care of yet. It's a trick. The kids tripping and they go into the cafeteria. And then you can elevate it that way. But as far as the BCAS is concerned, those are already flat items. And so when you're looking at them, just keep all of those things kind of in the back of your head. Because when you do the walkthrough, the principal might call it to your attention. And then you can just say, if this roof has continued to leak for the last 5 months, like, let's just make a phone call right now to Carmine and figure out what's going on and how to fix that. There's also the comprehensive education plan on those tabs, and you should take a look at that too. That's gonna help you understand what the academic goals are for the school, what the social emotional goals are, parent engagement. And sometimes some of those things wrap into the construction authority and the plan. So for example, if the school doesn't have a PTA room and they want to have stronger parent engagement, there may be a way to turn, nobody has classrooms, but there may be a way to turn something into a space that can be used for other purposes. And so just kind of like keep that stuff in mind as well. And then there's the iPlan portal, which it's the tool that the school leadership team members are using, but again, public information. And you're gonna find the CEP there. You're gonna find the district comprehensive education plan there. And then the last link that I have on the slide is for the school construction authority. So you can actually go into the current capital plan and just do a search like Control F of K032, and you'll see what projects are flagged for PS 32. And so like, you don't want to include any of those projects that are already existing on your list, because then you're just doing double work and it's kind of like you're not taking full advantage. So next slide, please. Thank you so much. So after you reviewed all of this information, you can ask Shanice to reach out to the principal and try to schedule a walkthrough. And ideally, you're going to have more than you and the principal there. Like I've been on walkthroughs where the students were there, and it was really fun to hear them talk about the classrooms and what makes the building special. I've gone on walkthroughs with Carmine. I've had elected officials at walkthroughs. So, you can have as many or as few people as you want, whatever's comfortable for you and the school. But of course, the main thing is just that. Next slide, please. You want
Yeah, sure. Also, I want to mention what Camille was saying about the CEC requests. So I do repair and maintenance. So like we'll go back to the roof. The roof is leaking. I'll repair it and patch it until the SCA comes in after me. I'll put a referral on the SCA to come in because I spend up to $35,000. They got to go over 35 is capital money. So if I'm putting in a request for a referral for a roof and the CEC is putting in a request for a roof and the principal and the superintendent, most likely it will get done because you got 3 of us asking for this. not just the CEC, not just me, but it's very important to get us involved. And, usually you send me the list and I go through it just to make sure, because a lot of schools will put in to replace a door. I do that. Don't put that on a capital plan because it's not gonna go nowhere. Or replace a floor. I do that. Don't put it on a capital plan. Put stuff that you really, really need in a building. I would suggest, like, if you have a boiler issues, that's a capital improvement. Brand new boilers, fire alarm system, new roof, new windows, stuff like that should go on the capital plan with yoga classes, dance rooms, auditorium upgrades,
Yeah.
cafeteria, and all that. So I would definitely include that and talk with your principal, and let's get the custodians involved. It's very important because they know the building with the principal. So when you do the walkthrough, walk with them, because they'll tell you exactly what we need and all that. And I'm available, and I got deputies, and I have a deputy in every district. So like, I'll have District 15 will be a plant manager. They're available. If not, I'll be available. Which if you're not really familiar how it works, I could definitely, I see there's a few new members. I can definitely walk. Just let me know and I'll walk with you, if you don't mind. I'll walk the facility with you. Right?
Another really, good thing that we figured out over the years is that if schools are all saying the same thing, like, oh, we needed this, everybody was saying they didn't have air conditioning in the classroom. And so we were able to get city council to fund air conditioning and just like kind of elevate that to like an all citywide issue. And then we were having all these issues with bathrooms. And so bathrooms became like a whole citywide issue. I was trying to flag, like the kitchens. A lot of our kitchens were just swelteringly hot and the staff was literally fainting in there. So, like we kind of did this sweep of all of the District 15 kitchens and try to bundle some of these things. So you could do that on the capital plan as well. I mean, they want to see it like school by school by school, but if you see that 5 schools are all asking for the same thing, I would just immediately like start talking to city council about that. Because if you have 5 in this district, someone else has 6 and someone else have 10, and you know what I mean? So think about that as well.
And recently we did a lot of kitchens, I'm talking about Brooklyn North that I'm in charge. We did a bunch through school food and capital planning with SCA. We did a lot of kitchens in all the districts recently, and the ACs.
Yeah.
They did with a bunch of ACs in the last year or two. Classrooms.
Yeah, and so like that, in that first year that the air conditionings were being funded, it was just physical classrooms, not
The structure.
special rooms, not cafeteria, not, auditoriums, not gyms. Like, when your kids are in elementary school and they're running around like crazy little maniacs, like, that's their normal state of mind. But when they become like middle school and high school age, like, like we need air conditioning in the gyms.
Middle schoolers.
Yeah. So I would flag that this year, please, like, try to push city council for air conditioning. It's gonna be complicated because of course ceilings are so high and like a big space, but we need to do something about that.
And also my office provides the proposals for that air conditioning. So just say PS1 wants a survey, I will give the principal the actual proposal, what it would cost to actually do that job. So we do that in my office. So city council is gonna ask us anyway, did you go through DSF for a proposal? There's the proposal, I need 50,000, just say, to do the ACs. And usually they'll give us the money and we'll do it. We'll do the work.
Thank
All right, so school facilities, day-to-day maintenance and repair of school buildings. We have a custodial staff, handymen and cleaners in each school. We have custodian engineer, who's the supervisor of that staff. We have the DDF, which is the supervisor of the custodian and the staff. and then me, that I'm in charge of the DVF and the state. We have DSF subcontractors, we have ventilation inspections, the custodians every day are supposed to review and walk the building and check the ventilation. Especially when we were with COVID, we had forms they had to fill out. It's online, everything is online, all our ventilation, what's working, what's not working, because they break every day. So it changes every day, you know, the ventilation, be the motor, the belt, electrical issues. Paint inspections, we do 3 times a year for lead, but we encourage our custodians to check them daily. 6 years and under. If deteriorated paint, we'll send a certified contractor, an XRF it's called, to see if it's lead or not. If it's lead, we shut the room down. I don't know if anybody's seen letters that we shut a room down. That's because we gotta remediate it and it came back positive, and then we do a white test. We get a reoccupancy letter, and then we open up the room. It takes about a day or 2 or 3 days, depending on the deterioration of the room, but we remediate everything. Sustainability. They're doing recycling. Now they're rolling out the new, the tilt trucks, the containers have to be out even for our houses.
Mhm.
So that's gonna be, you know, we're getting ready for that. We're gonna have training on that with the custodians. DSF can provide funding for smaller, like I said, air condition replacements, cafeteria bleachers, auditorium seats. If a principal or elected official wants a proposal, we'll give them a proposal. Transfer the money to us and we'll do the work.
And then other
Right.
things that DSF has done, you all monitor the lead in the water too.
Yes.
right? That was a huge.
We do
project.
that, we do water testing every Monday. Or if the school is out on Thursday, we'll do it the Friday. If, it's always after 24 hour stagnant. If we flush, and we have it's on the computer, we have to submit it online. Who did it, who didn't do it, and they flush every fixture in the building. We start at the farthest end, we run that for 10 minutes to get the flow. And then we do a minute each water fountain, a minute or 2 it gets cold, which is usually a minute. All the way back down to the basement with the lead in the water.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Coleman, thank you so much to come. Thank you. I mean,
No problem.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Great. I'm a good job. And I know it's nice. About water testing, if I go to one of the schools, they say the custodian or who has the water test sample, where can get the like record water test on the school? The computer
It's all
or
online,
online?
on our website.
And you-
Infrared Hub. Infrared Hub, you'll see Info Hub, and you could click right on it. Go to facilities,
Yeah,
you'll see ventilation, you'll see water testing. You'll see everything. Everything is transparent.
and who's the one who do the water testing in the facility?
We have a company,
I
a
got,
certified company that comes in and takes the sample.
they come like every day to the schools or every?
No, every 3 years we're supposed to test, or if I replace a bubbler, a water fountain, I have to test it. I leave it off. Like if I change the water fountain down that hall,
Right.
I can't put that on until I test it.
Thank you so much.
It don't go back on until we pass.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any supply line and all that, we always do testing before any new repairs.
Thank
Has to be
you.
tested.
Thank you so
And
much.
then speaking of the water fountains, DSF also was putting water fountains like those.
Water bottle fillers.
The water bottle.
Yeah, nice, they're
We've
amazing.
been putting them in,
Yeah, that's helpful.
trying to put them in every school, you know,
Yeah,
every,
that's plastic.
yeah, yeah.
So mention that to your schools when you're going out to do your walkthroughs, because they may not think about it, but if they have like a proper plumbing setup where it can easily be.
Yeah, we'll
swapped out.
replace a water fountain that's actually there, you know, and I could just replace it. Or the principal could actually fund it themselves with a market maker program, which we could mention. Principal could pay me, because I can't replace everyone, but principals can fund if they have money to replace as many, as long as they have the money to do it. We could send my contractor to replace.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so this is just a list of the elected officials that you can reach out to try to get extra money. If the school construction authority doesn't break up the project, But honestly, there's no reason not to reach out to me. So whether they can give you money or not, they need to know what's happening. It's their responsibility to know. So reach out to the borough president, back in the day, Adam did have a big pool of money that he was funding STEM projects. And the city council also has lots of money, even besides participatory budget, they have other money that they can give. The state level, that kind of comes and goes, but it's worth it to reach out. Sometimes Senator Myrie will have money, but then one of the other senators won't. I don't know how this works, but ask them anyway. And you might even be able to get some money from Congress. Like I know Nydia Velasquez in the past really tried to go out of her way to ensure that we needed those schools. So it's just worth it to stay in touch and just send them the entire spreadsheet. It's good if you could separate.
No,
Yeah. And then I just threw together a quick timeline for you all, just so you can understand the whole process, how it works. So SCA is constantly putting out amendments. So they have their 5-year capital plan, but then in between those 5 years, they'll have amendment documents. So in an ideal world, the 5-year capital plan would be the thing that is getting amended, but it just doesn't work like that. So like 4 years later, you would have the capital plan, and then you would have like the year 1 amendment, you would have the year 2 amendment, you would have the year 3 amendments. You have to kind of like sift through all of that. And the main document can be 500 pages. So just use your search function, because the schools are just listed by the borough code and school code. So you don't do 15K 032, just do K 032, and like it'll come up right away. So it'll be easier for you to search that way through the document.
This is the SCA capital plan website.
This is the SDA capital. Yeah. Yeah. Shanice Smith, slide, please. Okay, so you guys have got through before. You're gonna collect your get your list together and then discuss it publicly, prioritize your top 5 facility needs. The citywide councils actually get 5 per borough. So if you guys have a 6 to 12 school here that really needs something, you should try to get CCHS to flag. Obviously, you're gonna vote on this in a public meeting, and likely that'll be in December, because usually SCA asks you to submit the list the first week of June, first week of January. And then just keep reaching out to the elected officials. Even like after you submit your list, just keep on them. They're there. Like, I think that they can still put money aside for certain projects until March, April. So just keep harassing them. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. All right, and I think we're done. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, so I think we'll go to the public first and then we'll go to CEC members. So is there anybody joining us on Zoom that has a comment or question for Carmine or Neil?
That was the best presentation on this.
Great job. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
And Kevin.
Feel free to put any questions in the chat as well. There any questions on the Spanish line?
Pregunta en la línea de español. I'm asking right now. 1 second. No questions on the Spanish line.
Any questions on the Bangla line?
No question in Bangla.
Any questions on the Mandarin line?
No question in Mandarin line.
We have nobody here in person. So let's move to CEC member questions. Just gonna go around Janalda.
Thank you for the presentation. I learned a lot. And thanks for being here at this, late hour. Question about 372. PS 372. I didn't go to the meeting on the 19th. I couldn't be there, but I guess I'm just trying to understand what's happening because it seems like a real crisis scenario. Could you just give a broad overview of like what has been and what's happening now to remedy that situation?
Actually, I was on a call today. We had a meeting on the plan to install a sub-slab depressurization system, which goes into the ground. I'll do a quick, it goes into the ground and a pipe is outside the building to the roof. It takes all the vapors, everything with a vacuum, pulls it all out. We're gonna start that, I believe. We're waiting for permits, DOB, they're saying maybe January. It's about 2-week process. It's just a matter of permits and all that, but, we did sampling before. They said it was okay for occupant, for kids to be in there and staff, so. It's just the grounds, the vapors in the grounds, but we did pass our pilot testing. We did pass it, so we're just doing this as a portion. That it just pulls it's gonna be in each classroom, you're gonna see pipes, they're gonna try to hide as many pipes as possible, and it just pulls everything out from the vapors out to the atmosphere. So that's the sub-slab depressurization system. It's a motor and a fan that just pulls it back in all day long, runs 24 hours, 7 days. Yeah, well, I was at that meeting, in the school, I think it was a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think the 19th of last month.
Yeah.
We had one meeting, but we didn't talk about that meeting, that meeting we had. Is there anywhere that school could do? Like, is there any, and I understand that that school is kind of caught between two districts. Be a partnership of two, and for a lot of reasons, they're considered, with District 75 or with District 15, and it's sometimes convenient to say no, that I didn't want to the other person and whatever, but is there any other, is there any relocation option? It just seems like such a difficult scenario for everybody.
That's definitely not in my,
Okay, got it.
yes.
All right, thank you. Skins from the canal.
It's just a neighborhood. They tested the houses, a K32. We did all sampling and it's just the area. The Gowanus,
Yeah.
saying, the vapors in the ground and, but it did come back safe because if it wasn't safe, school
Right.
would have been closed. I said,
Right,
yeah,
I totally understand.
yes,
It's just trying to
Yes.
figure out like what.
So we're
is
trying to
the board's
mitigate-
issue? Yeah.
yes. And it's only on the church side of the building where the pre-K and kindergarten is, that one side, it's just there.
Because the ones that's sort of below.
It's below, right underneath the gym, classrooms there and. Yes, there's water all underneath, there's all water and,
Have they gotten a new boiler? Isn't it like in the, right?
no, that was actually, when we had, that one hurricane we had. Oil tank lifted a little and snapped, so that was a temporary oil tank till we got the new one. That big thing was an
Yeah.
oil tank for the boilers. That's moved out now, we replaced it, and we went, temporary,
Thank you.
Kwame, do you have any questions or comments?
Ooh. Um, um, Trying to figure it out. So I'm not sure how to pose the question. So basically, we're supposed to, and when I say we, I mean this group here. We're supposed to either option one, individually, look at this information. Then go to the schools, talk to the principals, and, figure out what their needs are. And then, lobby to the council,
Elected.
the elected council, and get money for the district. Or option two, we do it together.
Both.
It's both.
and-
Yeah.
So I would say, Antonio, told me to, 169 one day. So walk through at 1 o'clock, and this is items I see they need, I already arranged something. Oh, does that work? You sure, Amy? Let it go.
You don't need me to come with you.
Yeah.
You just go, you make the arrangements with the principal and you go. And then you come back sort of to the table with a list of needs and we all sit around and we do liaison reports. That'll be on an agenda item. And you'll report back to us like, what you saw at that school and what they need. And then we will create a big spreadsheet of all of the repairs and capital plan projects that we are reporting back to the council. And then we submit that to DSF, to SCA, to our elected officials, to our borough president, and then hope that they come through for us. So there's the spreadsheet that we create, and then there's yes, you can go on your own and advocate to the elected officials to serve the school.
Okay.
And
And
also I
I,
wanna add, if there's a door broken, you don't have to put that on a list, just let us know facilities, the custodian, and we'll fix it. If the paint don't look nice, you want it freshly painted, or the principal, come to us for that. You don't need to put that on the list. Yeah, if you see things that you feel, I can't fix everything, but I'll try my best to do, as long as it's working and, everything, the kids have everything they need. Like Will said, for learning environment, we provide,
so I would be in charge of the schools you told me I
Yeah.
represent,
Yeah,
and that's my,
that's
Yeah.
your.
and I stay there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go on her thing.
No.
And then we
It's
all
gonna be
come
my fault.
together and then we all just report out. And then, so we each talk about our 4 schools and all the needs.
I have
And
more
then,
than four.
You do have.
Oh.
I know,
or-
Same building.
yeah,
And like the D75 school is 261, but also has another building and then, what was it, 820
136.
and 821 are in the same building. So it makes sense to represent both of those schools because they're gonna have the same problems. They got the same roof.
and if you email me, put the building code, not the other code,
Okay,
because I
that's
have
a-
no idea.
Explain that. Explain because that's.
I go by the building, like 136. That's what I go by, K 136. There's another school upstairs, right?
Yeah.
I have no idea it's A21.
Mhm.
I only go by K 136. Actually, lot and block number, that's what we go by facilities. Like K 32, actually 372, we call it 834. But I know 374 because I've been through so many meetings. K1 is K1. I don't know what other
If you
orgs.
on the DOE
Yes,
site, it will have the building
Huh?
number.
27?
It'll just take a little bit.
It was the DBN?
Oh, yes, we call it 27.
Is the DBN the same thing as the building number?
It's,
No,
no,
The
it's,
DBN
no,
is not.
no.
It's district building.
Yeah.
So it has a district.
Yes.
Or that's the building.
Yeah, like K 124 is 124. If there's 5 schools in there, I don't know the other orgs. I only go by 124 or 24 or whatever. the school
Our
code is.
liaison list actually lists both the building number and the DBN.
Well, excuse me, it will be helpful, we go directly ask the principal what is the building code. Does they know what it is, or?
Should be on the website. It's on.
Well, if you go to the principal upstairs, they might tell you their code, not the code downstairs. It's all depending who you speak to.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
both-
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
So you'll have.
Yeah.
That's less confusing.
because you know how many times I get, I'm like, what school is this? I gotta look it up. I'm like, oh, this one.
Yeah.
You know?
And then I just want to clarify too, so it's confusing for me last year. We all submitted, shared out our list of all the concerns in the building. And then Antonia helped put together this master spreadsheet. We ended up with, I think, 100 different things that needed to be fixed across all the schools. And then we started identifying which were DSF, which were SCA. Carmine helped us with that significantly. And then we started, then in our meetings, we discussed what do we want to prioritize for SCA, but then we still sent the entire list to everybody. So we sent it to DSF for the DSF stuff, we sent it to SCA, we sent it to the elected officials. We shared this with all the principals, so they knew where we were saying they should try to request the money. Like I know, like my kids are at PS 230 and they're like, they were not a priority. And so they then went to elected officials and ended up getting the money. Or I just found out recently for their auditorium renovation.
Yeah, actually, we did that.
Yeah,
We
thank
did the
you.
auditorium, we got the money and my team did that.
Thank you.
The auditorium.
So that's just like an example of like, it didn't make our priority list for the SCA, but because Carmine helped us identify all the things and who needs to pay, then that helped the principals know where to ask for the money and
So basically write everything down.
Yeah.
And then we can sort of sift through it and decide who we need to send that information to. It was, I had such a tough time when I went and asked so many questions, and then it got a little easier as I was going, and it started to make a little more sense. But, when you go to a school, if you want one of us to come, I'd be happy to go with you, because I sort of felt a little, like, didn't know what questions to ask or anything, so I'd be happy to do that.
I'll be happy too to join us. If they want me to. Email me. Absolutely.
Hans, did you have any questions or comments?
Yes, actually, Carmen, can I ask you a big favor? Last year you gave to us a list of what it was like, different types of identities. You know, which one were the project plans, capital plans, GSF, all the kind of stuff. That was very helpful.
Yes, that's a plan.
You can.
What plan is that?
You give us like a list, and so actually, you give us a list like all the kind of jobs you do, like what's kind of, what fix for your for the repairs you do in schools.
That list right here.
Yeah, that paper I play you give to us.
If you want to, yeah,
I'll make a copy.
I only pulled from July 1,
That help a lot, was.
and there was 103 jobs that I did just in your
Yeah,
school
that help a lot. When we go to
Or,
school, that help a lot.
since July 1. This is only from July 1. We did 103 jobs. You know, but this is everything. If the boiler wasn't working, I repaired the low water cutoff, it's called. We repaired the kitchen exhaust fan. I have everything we do is on this report.
Yeah, that's really good. Sometimes
I can make copies.
you can
Absolutely, I
like,
can
write it
give
down.
It's-
Yeah.
I got nothing to hide. I'm transparent. I tell you everything.
Sometimes like.
Can we make copies?
The school say, well, I want to repair the door, the alarm, so I want to find out like, how can I wanna go tell them, hey, not make a big story, I wanna go, oh, come on, you know? They had a problem with the fire alarm for the sprinkler system, so how, is that fixed in our category,
Well,
or?
I hope my custodian's telling us that the fire alarm is down or the sprinkler's down, because that's a safety issue.
No, that's like a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
There, I'd say,
Yeah.
technical language, to speak to the custodians, to understand what's going on, like with the system.
Yeah, absolutely. The
Yeah,
custodian
that-
is
that
no
helped- that
person
helped me a lot.
contact at the school.
Yeah. That was
Absolutely.
very helpful.
Yep, they're there every day, you
Thank
know,
you,
8 hours a day, so they should know everything that's going on in the school.
thank you so much, that very helpful, that would help me a
But
lot.
they only do minor repairs, and then if it's of their scope, I have skilled trades. I have contractors, I got my own plumbers, I got my own electricians, I got my own carpenters. I have a team that I dispatch every day as a priority where I gotta go. I have a team.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say something, go to the school, say to the principal, okay, and I'm trying to fix this, and then, this, I feel like a lot. It's like, this not gonna fix it, it's not gonna really, so I wanna find out first what is.
I'll tell you if I can do it or if I can't do it. I'm very,
Yeah, no,
transparent.
that's been told.
I'll say, I don't have money for this, let's ask for this. I
Yeah,
could do this. Like a principal just the other day asked me to replace 15 doors. I said, I can't do 15, but I'll do 5 right now. And then 6 months from now, I'll do another 5. Stuff like that. I prioritize what's actually needed. First thing I ask, can the doors lock for lockdown purpose? Then that's a priority. I'll send them a call. But I'm saying, if they want, if they don't look nice, I'll do a few at a time.
thank you so much, yes, that would be very helpful.
I'm here to help, support everybody.
Thank you for coming, thank you.
I don't even.
Stanley, if you have any questions?
Very original, doesn't matter.
Hi, thank you for coming. My one question is why does construction projects take so long? Like school will be closed in June and then in September, the construction's still going on, December it's still going on. Why does it take so long?
Not really school construction, but I could answer for that. A lot of things are permits, Department of Buildings, other agencies. Like if we do a fire alarm system, you need to be signed off, you need to sign off by the fire department. Sometimes they don't show up. You know, in all due respect to the SCA, sometimes they're delayed with projects because of that, but it does take time. You know, a window job might take 2 years, we'll say, and then it's really 3 years. It's all depending.
They're not allowed to work.
Yeah, or the school program.
Work after school, get comments for the evening and the neighbors. So like the window to work is really.
And that's why a lot of schools in the summer will do a summer closure. We'll tell the principal, you're not opening this summer. We have to do this work, abatement and all that. We'll put a list out to the superintendent to say what schools we're actually working in, and then we'll work with the superintendent, what schools we could open and close and keep closed. So,
So approximately 2 years.
like, it's depending the job. You gotta remember, a lot of times they're doing jobs, it's windows, parapets, masonry, and roofs before projects in one. But to finish in one while they're getting the other one going, takes time. It does.
Like once the scaffold's up,
Yeah.
you wanna try to take as much advantage of.
I know it looks ugly, right? Let's be honest. Then when the scaffolding comes down, well, wow, that's the building?
I know.
Right? Like, that's what it looks.
And most of the construction, they start like the playground, like why start in the playground and not the building?
Still depending, they meet with the principals, discuss the best plan, and, see what's better for the school, depending what the job is. It's all depending. A lot of times they use your playgrounds for staging areas. They put all the equipment, machinery, and all the windows and stuff like that, because we want them on site.
That's
So
what
it's all
happened at
dependent.
38,
Yeah,
right? Like they were working inside of the building at 38, they were using the part of the playground to keep their equipment there. And then as soon as they were able to get that
I
taken
think that-
care of, they redid playground at 38, but like the playgrounds are a different funding stream also. It's by the trust.
yeah, the parent trust for public land. And then a lot of times also, Department of Transportation won't give them permits to store, like you see the barricades. They won't allow it in the street, so they have to put it on school ground. It's all depending. It's all dependent, yes. Takes time to get a job going, construction. Takes at least a year. Design phase, the bidding process with the contractors, they gotta bid on it. To see who's the cheapest one and all that stuff. I know, who said 15, whose kid goes to 15? Got a big, you know how many meetings I was with, the principal and Julia and, you know, with the windows and the contractor, we threw him off the job. He's not allowed to work for the city anymore, so a lot of litigation. So it was a lot of, yes, we're moving. I was there many times. So, we finally got right direction. got the bathrooms done,
Mhm.
and on the first floor by security, the bathrooms are out almost a year and a half because of the contractor. Nobody, we stopped all work. All work was allowed to happen until they were out. And they're not allowed to work for city. Yes, yeah,
Well,
they were bad. Right?
Yeah, I mean, one good thing about SCA, even though things take longer than what we would like, their standards are way higher than what the city's building standards are. So that, a lot of times families will be worried about dust from construction and other things like that, that could pose health hazards. But SCA really is doing a lot more than what you would see in a typical house renovation or like some skyscraper build. They have much higher standards.
They do good work. They do good work. Absolutely. We have a dust protocol in place. They have to put plastic up if they're working in the classroom. They gotta follow all those guidelines. They do good work, though. It takes a while, but they do. Good work. They keep our schools, bricks and, because we don't do that facilities. They build, we maintain. We got a few new buildings like 557. That's 15, right? That's,
Another TV. Or it's attached.
I call it 557. It's the old police station.
Yeah.
I forget the principal's name.
Thank you.
Leslie, did you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you so much. This was great.
And you have my email? I'm not going nowhere. I got 7 more years. Going nowhere for 7 years.
Yeah, just logistical questions too, but I also feel overwhelmed, for the person. Would it be possible to send us like a sample, like the last year? Yeah, no, or even like how individual members, like how you jotted things down for yourself. In the meeting.
Yep.
Would be super helpful. Okay.
Maybe like sample questions to ask.
Yeah, okay, that would be great. And does that happen when the school is not responsive? Yeah. Okay, right. And then if they're not, they're just.
And you get rough.
Yeah, you get Raphael.
So, yeah, so I sent like an email today to principals.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard back yet. And last year, what I did was I didn't hear back. I then CC'd Raphael. And I just added more people to it. And then eventually I heard back from almost everybody. Yeah, and you can sometimes, if you go through like maybe a PTA or PA president, or SLT members, like there are ways to get into the building if the principal is overwhelmed and responding.
Sure.
So,
It's a good, sorry, it's a
Yeah.
good idea to CC Raphael and correspondence.
And what I do is when I email the school, especially at the beginning, when I'm introducing myself or reintroducing myself, is I email the PTA president or presidents and the SLP reps, whoever it's high, when the principal will be there, the PTA person will be there, but if they have like a communications person or somebody that would be in that category, just for visibility.
Yeah. So you have a slide for school construction authority. And it says for brick and mortar projects within schools that count 35,000. Was it always 35,000 or more?
It used to be 50.
It used to be 50, was that changed?
They changed.
It's all depending on the work. It's all depending.
So it's such fluctuating, I feel like I've always gotten this number wrong.
No.
Every year.
It used to be 50.
They lower it
Yeah, I think
35.
They lowered it.
Yeah.
I'm not going for it. You use the term market maker.
That's if the principal's looking to fund something, it's called a market maker. I just say the principal has $50,000 they want to spend on facilities. They can do air conditioning, they can do doors, they can do anything they want. They put it through us. We'll do the work, give it a price, $48,000. They'll transfer me the money, I do the work.
Oh, so it's coming from the principal's
Coming from the
budget
principal's budget,
to
yes.
DSF.
Yes.
Like Danny, that count.
Oh, he spent.
Yeah.
He did his whole auditorium ACs. He spent like $300,000. That, we did a lot of work for Danny.
Last question,
J Hill.
the sub-slab depressurization system,
Yes,
is that loud? The fan?
no,
No, because Camille and I might have to have this put up. I'm not joking.
I can actually send you, I'll send you what I got today for the meeting. You know, everything is transparent. I'll send you whatever I got on it.
Okay.
And I'll send it to you, so you can read about it and Google it and. We actually install them in all our new buildings going forward. Even though it doesn't have it, we're installing them, even on new standalone gyms. We're always installing them in the new construction. Yep.
Yeah, that's all.
We're meeting Friday at
Friday at 11. Actually, I got a meeting at 10. I'm available after 11.
Okay,
What school?
Beatrice,
Which one?
Brooklyn High School of the Arts.
Which school?
The high school.
It's in 447.
Give me, who's the principal?
Dan,
Oh, Danny, 6:55. We call that 6:55.
That. and
There's a few schools.
447.
That's, Erin?
Yeah.
Erin, yeah, yes, no problem.
But a question I have is, I see that you provided the list of the completed projects, which I appreciate. Is there a way to check what has been requested in its progress as it?
I have database on that, it's called, so this is how this works. So if the custodian wants to repair the window, they'll put a work request in. Right? It goes to my deputy will approve it. They'll go to my maintenance coordinator, they'll assign it to whatever respective trade that it needs to go to. And that's how we generate the work, through work request to the custodian that's on site.
Okay, and there is no public way to.
No.
Right?
No,
Okay, but I can ask you to give me a list of
Yeah.
whatever's happening at the school.
absolutely. I can give you a rundown. I'm transparent. I'll tell you everything I'm doing, I can't do.
I know.
It's-
And budget wise,
I have no money.
besides 35 per project that you are allowed to spend, how is that allocated per school?
It's all depends.
Per project? It's
Yeah.
just per
I
project.
have a budget for Brooklyn North, and that's my budget.
Okay.
I could spend 50,000 in District 15, or I can spend 100,000 in District 17. It's all depending. I just can't run out of that money by June 30th.
Okay.
So I manage what I can do and what I can't do. Yes.
And for Camille, we did spend a lot of time discussing more of like the fiscal stuff, but I wanted to ask you questions about what should council members ask the principals about curriculum, enrollment, budget issues. That's its own presentation. I can come back for that. That would be super helpful to know.
You know what, I could try to make a list. Like I'll just come up with like.
Do you have anything at 6:55 that you want me to look at before Friday? Tell me.
It will be my first visit of the year, so, I'm just kind of walking, through, figuring out where things are.
Oh, okay. So it's nothing that was brought to your attention that there's an
Not
issue?
yet.
Like,
But
there's
I will,
water flooding into the box
Is there?
from the street. I don't know, there used to be.
There used
that
to
used
be.
to happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I know they're doing windows. I know we just actually, for an accommodation for a child that with the lighting, we put shades up in certain rooms because the kid, certain, wait, the elevator,
There were.
that was fixed.
Right, yeah.
I know I have a Westinghouse problem. It's been a problem for a while.
Well, there was I think a teacher in a wheelchair and a student with mobility issues,
At 6:55,
in the other.
6:56,
Yeah,
next door.
yeah.
I guess what would be
The
helpful
Team Street stuff.
is to know generally for every school, where things, and where are they now in comparison to last year or 2 years ago?
We have.
From the.
Yeah.
No, the list we
The
made.
list we made,
Okay.
have all. Stuff requested, right, I don't know that they've done.
Done. That's what, I mean, I use that for the school. But I'm just thinking like for new members of the council.
Yeah,
it would be helpful.
Yeah, I'll make a note. Of
Yeah,
making
Like
sure-
if I go in a building and I see a plastic bag over a toilet bowl, I go nuts. That should never happen. I'm a pet peeve for bathrooms. It should, my deputies know that needs to be fixed ASAP. Stuff like that, I don't, you know, and I walk around and make sure, and if you see that, please bring that to my attention, because a lot of people won't tell me. Because then I get, you know, I'm like, what's going on here? How is this broke? What do we do, you know? So, yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a comment.
Yeah, about a playground, what
So
school,
our children's,
playground should be.
Shannon, do you mind sharing which school you're talking about?
Says our children's playground should not be.
I think it was.
stored.
I don't know if it's.
It says stored for over 1 to 2 years, restricted space and creating dangerous environment. Can we find out what school that is?
No.
You know, again, it's all depending the SCA, if they're allowed to store in the street. If they have restrictions from DOT taking up the street, then they have to put storage somewhere. So they work it out with the principal, but they usually try to give some space back. Take maybe half of it.
Yeah.
At least they have something. They try to work it out. But again, I could be involved in that, and have that conversation prior, but sometimes I'm not, I don't even know. If,
Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
I hope I answered everything. I hope. I'm here to help, I'm here to support you, so please reach out.
I think you're
Are
gonna.
you gonna email me?
Take this show on the road, because I think every single thing is
Funny,
funny.
I'm gonna give you this, that's all my.
Oh, they don't cover everything.
Yeah, like everything I was saying. But at least you can.
The CEC, don't even invite me.
I don't know.
You know, I don't, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's the.
You have to.
Yeah. We have to, with a certain date, early January.
Even
we have to
beyond
submit
Fair.
top 5 recommendations for SCA.
Yeah, like I said, I could get your proposal in the actual local official, it has 50 pounds. Yeah.
To try to have all of our.
Yes.
By December, so we can have all this.
Yes,
Basically
thank
2
you.
meetings.
Have a wonderful night, and please, I'll try to get you that information from the meeting today of the drawings and all that. I'll share it with you. I got no problem with that. All right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Start to look like that.
Thanks. All right. Thanks, David. Have a good
Try to
night.
get into the school.
Casual meeting person, then we're gonna do a walkthrough.
No, same, all.
Hey, guys. Let's look at this, Omnipart resolution. And, I'll share my screen, oh, fine. So Vanessa, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, so we discussed the resolution during our meeting. There were a couple of changes that were requested. I will read the resolution in a second, if anybody feels compelled to read, I will look at that collaboration. The couple of changes that were made were in relation to the special public part classes. To clarify that while we are seeking in this resolution to have that eliminated and actually expand the teacher pass to a full only pass for students with the same access that the regular only card provides. While this is being worked on, we see that those 2 only passes are equally accessible to all students that receive busing, or that are not given public pass. So it was just to expand and clarify the language of this. And to make sure that it included language about what, eligibility for school busing being part of what these, not just people, students that have disabilities, but also any student that receives school bus.
So does anybody want to read it?
Say it again.
I can,
Okay, thank you.
just read straight through.
CEC 15 resolution to ensure equitable access to money cards for all NYC public school students. Whereas the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, MTA, and New York City Public Schools, NYPPS, provides student money cards to replace student Metro cards, granting students access to public transportation 24 hours per day, 7 days per week, with 4 rides per day on all MTA subway lines, local, limited, and certain buses, as well as the Staten Island Railway, the Roosevelt Island Tram, and the Hudson Railway, including free transfers. And whereas transportation eligibility for student Omni cards is currently based on a student's grade level and the distance between home and school, which excludes students who live less than half a mile from their school, regardless of the need for public transportation for extracurricular activities, after-school employment, or other essential commitments. And whereas many students participate in after-school activities, academic enrichment, and related services, and other essential commitments that are more than 0.5 miles from their homes, requiring reliable and accessible public transportation. And whereas access to public transportation provides teens with essential independence, mobility, and the ability to make choices, support their educational and professional growth, making reliable public transportation crucial for students' access to these opportunities and essential commitments. And whereas the city's initiatives to expand youth career pathways and job training programs across all boroughs has resulted in a growing need for reliable public transportation to connect students to educational, career, and economic opportunities that are increasingly dispersed throughout New York City. And whereas many students, including those with disabilities, face challenges in accessing public transportation due to the limitations of current eligibility rules, which do not account for geographic barriers, safety concerns, or the need for accessible transportation options. And whereas students with disabilities who receive specialized busing as part of their individualized education program, IEP, are excluded from receiving student Omni cards, limiting their ability to participate fully in after-school programs, extracurricular activities, and weekend events. And whereas the current policy of providing only one form of transportation, either bus or Omni card, to students with disabilities under Chancellor's Regulation A801 is outdated and discriminatory that does not reflect the expanded capabilities of the new student Omni card system, which offers 24/7 access and increased flexibility. Whereas the policy of offering only special program 2-trip Omni passes as an alternative for students who are not eligible for regular student Omni cards is inadequate and inequitable. These 2-trip passes, restricted to specific conditions, do not provide the same level of flexibility and access as the standard 4-trip Omni cards, leaving many students without sufficient transportation options for their educational and personal development needs. And whereas the application process for obtaining special program 2-trip Omni passes is complex and burdensome for parents and guardians, creating additional barriers for families who may already be struggling to navigate the educational and transportation systems. There is a need for clearer, more accessible information on eligibility and application procedures to ensure all families can exercise their rights to transportation assistance. And whereas the equitable distribution of student Omni cards is essential for ensuring that all students, including those from low-income households and those with disabilities, have the opportunity to participate fully in educational and extracurricular activities without financial or logistical barriers. Therefore, be it resolved that the Community Education Council of District 15, CEC 15, demands that NYCPS, in collaboration with the MTA, provide student Omni cards to all public school students, regardless of the distance they live from their schools or their eligibility for school busing, to support their educational, extracurricular, and personal development needs. And be it therefore resolved that until Omni cards are equally available to all students, NYCPS provide comprehensive, multilingual guides for families to better understand their transportation rights and the application process for special program 2-trip Omni passes, ensuring that families can easily access necessary transportation support for their children, regardless of the Omni pass to which they are currently entitled to receive. And be it further resolved that NYCPS and the MTA ensure that students with disabilities who receive specialized busing as part of their IEPs are eligible to receive student Omni cards to access public transportation for activities beyond regular school hours without being forced to choose between transportation options. And we further resolve that Chancellor's Regulation A 801 be reviewed and amended to eliminate discriminatory policies and ensure that all students, regardless of disability status, residential distance from school, or school busing eligibility, have equal access to public transportation. And be it further resolved that future student Omni cards be produced with durable waterproof materials to prevent damage and reduce the need for replacements, ensuring reliable access for all students. And be it further resolved that the NYCPS, in partnership with the MTA, actively engage with parents, educators, and advocates to address and resolve any issues related to the distribution and use of student Omni cards, ensuring that the system supports the diverse needs of the city's student population.
I believe that they rolled out an application that
Next
students
year.
can, okay, they're gonna roll it. Okay, regardless, I think that the going home for between particular materials is still important, but not every student will have to. An electronic device to have their own card.
Say that again?
So what I'm saying is that even if they have an Omni card that is made out of better material, this the fact that the students are able to put their Omni card on their phones,
Oh,
it's still relevant to make durable material cards because not every student is going to have their own card.
so when will we get an answer
So get an answer, like, so we're gonna
on the
vote,
resolution?
oh,
Where
When
they
the
always
DA
said, yeah, we're gonna do what you have.
Love the optimism. I'm here for all of it.
hard questions, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna,
That's important,
Yeah.
like, just real quick.
Yeah.
To give context, like, when I have my son on the weekends, now he's 10. He wants my, Metro card, he wants to swipe it, he feels empowered, he does the swiping, and like, that's a big deal for me. Thinking about him having his own, card. It gives them more, independence. Important, because he's not always on the bus.
Yeah, it's not gonna be 10 forever. He's gonna need to have access.
let's go on to the
Okay.
public comment.
Yeah, so are there any comments or questions from people joining us on Zoom? There was a comment in the chat, it's empowering for
Hi.
disabled. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, yes. My name is Janet. I just want to add that this resolution hit absolutely every point. I'm very grateful that the CEC took the time to write out a resolution that was inclusive to every student and to the needs of the students, not necessarily only the need of transportation equity for all the children, but also a durable Omni card. So they don't have to deal with, ruining their card and then not having their card to be able to to transport home in the afternoon because it got damaged. So I'm really grateful that this was put together and that it was put together in a language that is understood by all. I was able to share it with my school community and we're all extremely happy that this was put together. So I'm hoping that this really pushes the narrative and makes sure that the people in charge do what they need to do.
Thank you, Janet. Are there any other questions or comments from people joining us on Zoom? Anybody on the Spanish line?
No question in the Spanish line.
Is there anybody on the Bangla line?
No question in Bangla line too.
Any questions on the Mandarin line? Camille.
I am in support of the resolution and I appreciate you all for taking the time to put it together. At the panel for education policy meeting that happened in September, they were also talking about writing an omni resolution. So there's gonna be a briefing for the CAP members on like what the current status is and what the potential is for change. And then there was also a comment elevated by me that we all should be considering just letting children ride for free, because in other countries, they ride for free, and then we wouldn't have to talk about why an Omni card is made of garbage, why there's plastic in the world now. And so look for that coming soon. But I think that that is something that we should just be elevating as well. So thank you for doing this work. You know, I think this is the next step of this project, but I think the longer term step is just to have conversations with city council about, you know, children not having to have a card to get on a bus. They don't have chips.
And I would like to Raphael's point, on the budget on this. In during the last meeting, I think that beyond sending it to the DOE, sending the resolution to city council for me in that conversation.
I have a question to ask about this. If the child loses the card, do they get replacement?
Mine did. And I don't know if it's
Alleged universal one. So like with the Metro card, they were giving 2 a year, so if you lost it in the beginning of the year, they would give you a replacement. But I heard that the Omni card is. Said they probably get it replaced once, but you know.
Because kids make mistakes.
They do, yeah.
My daughter forgets her Omni card almost.
And
I'm curious, there's a budget for this, like, they can't do like the Federal Reserve and just type in some numbers and. That's it, like, there's a fiscal number attached to the card where the city has to pay.
some sort of collaboration between the MTA and the DOE. I don't know
You should
the,
find that, I'm not doing.
I don't know the details of it, but yeah, there's a huge price tag associated with it.
The questions I had about this was, we're not delving into how the budget works because it's super complex within the resolution. But the theory behind the 2 passes for people that live closer to their school is that the city or the DOE is saving money by not giving a full pass to students that receive busing or that that have disabilities and receive busing. So it's a way of, and creating more restrictions for the students to how they use those passes.
But if it's also, it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, then like if you live closer, you don't get the benefit of being able to use it on the weekends, the same as your friend who lives.
It's discriminatory.
And do we get clarity on whether the city is only charged when a card is swiped?
No.
Or if it is just charged based on where the assumption of 4 rides per day?
We don't.
Because that's a significant difference. If, you know, a kid has the 4 swipes a day and they only use it twice a day, 3 days a week, versus a kid that's using it every single day. That's a huge difference. And it doesn't make sense that the city would have to pay a flat fee, that it should be based on the actual swipes for the rides. So therefore, it's an even larger argument for equity, because there are gonna be kids who are given the 24/7 passes that aren't using it all that much, whereas some of the children living within a half a mile may have a more, a greater need and will actually use swipes
I have a question. I don't know if I'm a little romantic, but what she says totally right. You know, I think kids don't work,
Yeah,
right? So we charge money to kids.
yeah.
I think like a parent. And we charge money to kids, we should let the kids ride free. Like, you know, they don't have to wait to carry a metro car or something like that. So why we don't set up a meeting with Danny Rodriguez from the Department of Transportation?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I don't know, and he's very, you know, open mind. Person.
Go for
Yeah,
But it's
so-
MTA.
Okay.
It's not DOT.
It's not DOT, it's MTA. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be tomorrow, I'm gonna be,
You're gonna look into it?
I'm asking questions. Right now, but I think, I think that that's correct, you know, kids don't work, they shouldn't pay for, I mean, they're using the service, but we have to, look,
Yeah,
you know, the quality of our society, you know?
right.
Like, we-
Yeah, I mean, they should take the money and hire more physical human beings to work underground in the subway to just maybe allow the kids to work. Like, just if you're a kid, you should just get through yes.
I just wanted to add one more thing, and by the way, I appreciate you including me in this collaboration. The school to prison pipeline is emphasized through these Omni cards, because when the child loses it, they don't have it with them, they're jumping the turnstile, and this is just, you know, kind of continuing this horror pattern. So another reason why kids should just ride for free.
I mean, not to get off on a whole different other tangent, but this, my daughter forgot her card. And somebody was like, oh, go through, and she went through, and then they harassed her and tried to get her to pay them money. And she and her friends ran away, and thankfully nothing happened, but if kids were able to ride for free, we wouldn't be having other unintended consequences.
Yes, I think, I'm sorry, this is the more beautiful solution I ever see in a long, long time. You know? But I think we should be a little more aggressive, saying let's the kids ride free. Too, you know?
You wanna add
I'm sorry.
Where at,
It's amazing.
finish it off, like, if you would resolve that,
Because then it.
does that make sense?
I feel like that's a distraction.
Yeah.
You think that
It has to
that's
be
a
done.
distraction?
Let's focus on the intention,
Okay.
which is
Yeah,
the
the Omni card.
being for everybody, and then once we get
Once you
that,
get that.
Right, look at that.
then we come back
Yeah.
around with, hey,
And the PEP is going to
Yeah.
raise.
Yeah.
this question.
Yeah.
Like they asked me to
Yes.
draft the resolution.
Okay, all right, so when Camille drafts the next resolution, she'll bring it back here and.
Then can you use, assuming we pass this resolution shortly, could you use our past resolution to support the work that you're doing with the PEP?
So what happened was that, Lupe from District Two had come to the PEP, she presented, the CCSE resolution. And then apparently CB 12 in Manhattan also has an omni resolution, like a lot of the CECs are passing omni resolution. So gathering them up, and
Yeah.
then we're supposed to be having this briefing, hopefully next week. And then I did pose the idea that children should ride for free, and so we're in a conversation about it, but it sounds like the PEP wants to move in a direction of elevating issues through resolutions. Yeah, so I'll let them know you all.
I'd like to make a motion to, did everybody get a chance?
Yeah, any other questions or comments?
I just thought
Tina?
spelling and.
Oh.
I just changed it.
Yeah, is it two S's or one S? I don't know.
Google
One.
it, one S.
Is it
One
one
S.
S? That's one section to the vowel.
English doesn't make much sense.
That's all.
All right, okay, so, if there aren't any more comments or questions, I'd like to make a motion to vote.
A second?
Okay, you're able to take the, all the roll.
Okay. Antonia,
I vote in support.
yes. Vanessa,
Yes.
uh, Tina,
Yes.
Yes.
Hans,
Absolutely, yes.
Canalda,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
and.
Oh, I think you're writing this down in the wrong, under the wrong thing. Yeah,
Anna?
yeah, move
No.
up, move
Yeah,
up,
you're.
move up.
Oh,
You're in the
I
wrong place, yeah. I'll move it up and you can continue.
I'm sorry. Stanley.
Dim.
Oh,
Stanley.
Oh,
Is that everybody?
Yep. That's-
It passes. Thank you, Vanessa. Fantastic work. We
Beautiful.
really appreciate you for that.
That's a roll call?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
All right, so we have this other resolution that's really just an amendment to the prior resolution on daylighting provisions. I was contacted by Joanne Simon people. She has a bill, A9985, that would ensure that New York City is no longer exempt from the state daylighting law. Joanne Simon. So, if you don't know what daylighting is, it's basically creates additional space and enhances visibility at curbs, and intersections so that the car at the corner can't park all the way up to the corner. It has to park further down so that you can see the oncoming traffic. And so she asked if we would just, amend our old resolution from last year to include support for the bill. So I will share my screen and I will read that. It is, I guess I have to read the whole thing, or do I just like to read the? I guess I'll just read the whole thing just because I don't know what they're in there. All right, resolution to urge the implementation of daylighting provisions at intersection throughout communities. Whereas daylighting is the process of reserving space within 20 feet of an intersection to increase visibility at street corners. And whereas daylighting, the practice of removing parking spots for other large obstructions closest to an intersection increases visibility to oncoming traffic and is a proven measure to reduce danger for pedestrians, bikers, and like. Whereas in 2023, New York City surpassed 100 child traffic violent fatalities since Vision Zero began. Whereas 2023 was New York City's second deadliest year for cyclists on record, and the number of bike fatalities caused by motor vehicles continues unabated. Whereas in New York State, between 2019 and 2022, the number of traffic fatalities increased 23%. And the fatality rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled increased 39%. Whereas 55% of pedestrian deaths and 79% of pedestrian injuries occur at intersections. Whereas these injuries and fatalities can be prevented. Whereas Hoboken and New Jersey have implemented universal daylighting and have seen substantial safety improvements and a significant decrease in pedestrian fatality. Whereas section 1202 of New York State, the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Code already prohibits parking within 20 feet of a cross section at an intersection. Whereas section 1642 of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Code allows New York City to opt out of this 20-foot requirement, which it does. Whereas in opting out of the 20-foot requirement, New York City allows parking right up to the crosswalk, making it difficult for all road users to see. Mayor Adams announced on November 30th, 2024, that he would instruct the Department of Transportation to daylight 1,000 intersections per year. Whereas New York City Council introduced 8584A New York City Council intro 854A requires that the Department of Transportation DOT study safety benefits of daylighting and daylighting barriers and implement daylighting at a minimum of 100 intersections a year beginning on January 1, 2025. DOT would also be required to install daylighting barriers in intersections where daylighting has been implemented subject to the commissioner's determination. And whereas, okay, so here in red, this is what they want at. Whereas New York State Bill A 09985, Senate, S is for Senate 09769, would repeal paragraph 2 of subdivision A, section 1642 of the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law relating to traffic regulations, parking, standing, and stopping and backing up vehicles in cities having a population of 1 million. This would remove New York City's exemption from the New York State daylighting regulation. Therefore, be it resolved that the Community Education Council of Community School District 15 requests that New York City opt back into New York State law. Okay, so that's kind of repetitive, but I guess it doesn't mention the bill. Opt back into New York State law prohibiting parking within 20 feet of an intersection. Be it further resolved that CEC 15 requests New York City Department of Transportation to further implement intersection daylighting at all possible intersections in the shortest possible timeframe. Be it further resolved that CEC 15 supports the mayor's November 30th, 2023 commitment to daylight 1,000 intersections here. Be it further resolved that CEC 15 supports the complete implementation of City Council's intersection daylight bill 854A. And then this is also an addition. Be it further resolved that CEC 15 supports the passage of said bill, which would repeal the exemption for New York City to opt out of New York State law prohibiting parking within 20 feet of an intersection. Be it further resolved that CEC 15 hopes for at least 1/5 of these intersections each year to be in Brooklyn, with a focus on the most dangerous intersections in our borough. And be it further resolved that CEC 15 calls on New York State Legislature to pass a bill to repeal the city's policy overriding state law and codify daylighting requirements at every intersection. City of New York. I guess there is some redundancy. Oh, no, never mind. It's not redundant because one is a whereas and the other is a therefore be it resolved. Not redundant. And then there was something else that I read.
Data is also wrong for November 30th, 2024. It should have said on the page above. Mayor Adams announced on November 30th.
2020.
November 30th, 2020. Yeah, so I'm
Right.
assuming
Good guess.
I think you were caught up on the which it does language from the way up above.
What, yeah, that is, let me just raise my.
think it's just saying that the option to opt out and it.
Oh,
your
which
city
it does,
chose.
okay, it's just a, like a weird emphasis that. Um. There you have it. Turn it over to the parliamentarian.
And do we have any comments or questions from people joining us on Zoom? Anybody from any of the interpretation line?
No questions on the Spanish line.
No question on the
No question in Bangla line.
Great, thank you so much. Any questions from people joining us here in person? Questions or comments from CEC members? Just go around, Ina, Hans.
I want to say, today is the anniversary of Sammy. Today is his anniversary. I want to say that all the families from Safety Street from New York, thank you so much for the hard work. I'm so happy they passed the law. You're gonna lower the speed of the cars. And, thank you so much. The relation, we're doing a good job. Thank you. And they say thank you so much to all the CECs for the support. Thank you.
Kwame?
I'm good.
Okay. Ronaldo?
Yep.
That's up. Tony? I move to go.
Yeah, okay.
I can do it, I'm just.
Oh, you're.
I just had to plug in.
And anybody back in?
Do we have a motion to vote?
It was
Yeah.
Jonathan made
Okay.
a motion, Katina.
Okay. Antonia,
Yeah,
me, yes. Vanessa? Katina,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Hans,
Absolutely, yes.
Donalda,
Yes.
Kwame,
Yes.
and that's it.
we didn't lose quorum, did we?
No.
Okay.
We saw that.
Okay. Wonderful, that's great. All right, so it's 8:44. We have to run until 9. I don't know if you wanna get into bylaws, I think that I have a longer conversation than time would permit.
I would just quickly say, from our last conversation, there were some updates. So, I think, the reading it, make sure that you're familiar with it, especially for new members. I think that will be helpful, so we can have a more informed conversation.
Yeah, yeah. There were changes, as you know, to whether to which parts of D210 the DOE is going to enforce. And so that forced us to have to amend some of the code. DOE. And I hope that the DOE does that work on their own. But until they do, we have to do it ourselves.
I just have one small thing before we leave. Speaking of traffic safety, the folks from Community Board 2 have been trying to get a liaison from the school PS 456 because they're trying to advocate for crossing guards on 2 separate corners, but this superintendent's office has not been responsive to the request. So I'm just putting it there to say, if you could follow up with Superintendent Alvarez and ask who is the liaison from PS 456. And the second part is that there were 2 meetings scheduled for last year with Community Board 2, and both were canceled, and they would really appreciate the opportunity to meet them. And so I know that probably reached out on their own, but raised it to this council today, in light of our meeting tonight. So I just hand that off to Antonia. Thank you.
Our next
56
meeting
is the new.
At 4:56.
Our next
It's
meeting
the
is at
next
4:50.
there. Yes, that's new school. Yeah, our new. our
That's the
meeting
thing, it's
there.
that they're new and they're trying to get them designated on like the DOT's list or something for a guaranteed, because apparently it's a difficult intersection. And you can get a school added before,
It's right by Mark.
I mean, yes, you can get a school added before, but it's hard to get someone, anybody grandfathered into that arrangement. So that's why they're trying to, they need a school representative at their board to be able to carry forward the issue to the appropriate electeds.
Right.
So that's the, I'm sure that you all can look that up. Thank you.
I would like to move these agenda items to the next meeting, if you don't mind.
Can I just say one thing about
Yeah.
the treasurer's report and I get into it? Yeah, if you, no, but if you especially could look at how it's distributed, like not right now, but it's linked in the agenda. If folks could take a look and just make sure that it's what you want to be seeing and it all makes sense, that would be great. And if anybody has reimbursements, that need to be signed.
Okay, so,
How does the reimbursement?
yeah, so that's like, Katina was gonna get into that in more depth. Can you briefly?
I can try. So as DGC members, you are entitled to reimbursement for childcare expenses that you incur during the meetings or in order to come to the meetings. You can also file for reimbursement for a portion of your phone or internet expenses if you're needing to dial into meetings from another location. There's a form that I think is in the folder and that you should have electronically, but I can send it to you if not, where you just document that. Give it to me or Antonia to sign off, and then to Shanice to process.
The phone internet is up to $75 a month. No, just for the work that the emails you send, the everything. So you get 75,
Your mobile phone or your what?
your mobile phone Wi-Fi, so up to 70.
A month?
Yeah.
And
And the retroactive, so then.
Well, your treasurer's report is down in these folders.
I realize it's not, I need to ask for it. Should I just ask for it to get printed?
Yeah, because I don't
You didn't see
usually
it,
print it out for everybody, just
Yeah,
just
that's
the
on me.
treasurer.
Okay, yeah, it's linked. and-
Okay, great. I'll look at the list then. Thank you.
I'm gonna motion to adjourn this meeting because I don't think we have that connection that we did these other conversations.
We passed two resolutions.
We've got those.
Yeah.
Gonna adjourn at 8:50.
Yes.
Oh, what? That's really. And it's always been.
Interpretation, first.
So the joint meeting happened.
Yeah.
The merger.
Oh, it's great to meet you.
So definitely not.